JonBenét Ramsey was a child. She was a little girl, and she lived a life. It was a short life, but it was a real one. Most people just know her face. They know it from pictures. They know it from the news, they know it from the pageants, but there was more to her than that. It's much more. She was not just an image, she was not just a story, she was a kid. She was born on August 6th, 1990. She was born in Atlanta, Georgia. Her parents were John and Patsy Ramsey. They were a family, they had a son already. His name was Burke. He was 3 years older than JonBenét. So she was the baby of the family. John Ramsey was a businessman. He was successful. He worked hard. Patsy Ramsey was a homemaker. She had been Miss West Virginia. That was a long time ago. But it was part of who she was. She loved being a mom. She loved her children. The Ramseys moved to Boulder, Colorado. That was in 1991. JonBenét was just a baby then. They moved into a big house. It was a beautiful house. It was on a quiet street. It had many rooms. It had a big yard. It was a good place for a family. It was a good place for kids to grow up. JonBenét grew up in that house. She grew up with her brother. She grew up with her parents. She grew up with her pets. They had a dog. Its name was Jacques. They also had a cat. Its name was Mew. She loved animals. Most kids do. She was a normal kid in many ways. She played with toys. She liked to draw. She liked to color. She watched cartoons. She rode her bike. She went to school. She had friends. She did all the things little girls do. Her parents said she was a sweet child. They said she was outgoing. She had a big personality. She was not shy. She liked attention. She was curious. She asked a lot of questions. She was bright. She learned things fast. Patsy Ramsey put JonBenét in pageants. This is what most people remember. This is what made her famous after she died. But the pageants were not her whole life. They were just a part of it. Patsy loved them. She had been in them herself. She knew about makeup. She knew about costumes. She knew about performing. JonBenét was good at the pageants. She won a lot. She won titles. Little Miss Colorado, Little Miss Charlevoix. She liked the dressing up. She liked the music. She liked being on stage. But she was still just a kid. It was like a game to her. It was a fun thing she did with her mom. Patsy spent time on the pageants. She helped JonBenét with her hair. She helped with her makeup. She made her costume. They spent hours together. It was their special thing. Some people thought it was too much for her. They thought it was strange. But for Patsy, it was normal. It was a tradition. It was a hobby. John Ramsey was busy with his work. He traveled a lot. He ran a company. He made computer parts. He was successful. He provided for his family. He loved his kids. He loved JonBenét. He called her Johnny. He said she was his little shadow. She followed him around the house. Her relationship with Burke was typical. They were siblings. They played together. They fought sometimes. They teased each other. They shared toys. They had their own rooms. Burke was older. He was a boy. He liked different things. But they were close. They were a family. They had a bond. JonBenét went to school. She went to High Peaks Elementary. It was a private school. She was in kindergarten. She liked her teacher. She liked her classmates. She learned to read. She learned to write. She learned numbers. School was important to her parents. They wanted her to be smart. She had friends at school. She had play dates. She went to birthday parties. She invited friends to her house. They would play in her room. They would play in the yard. They would play dress up. They would play with dolls. They were just normal kids. They laughed. They giggled. They ran around. The Ramsey home was a lively place. There was always something going on. Music played. Laughter echoed. The kids ran through the halls. Patsy cooked meals. John worked in his office. It was a big house, but it felt like a home. It felt lived in. They had a housekeeper. Her name was Linda Hoffman Pugh. She helped Patsy. She cleaned the house. She helped with the children. She saw JonBenét often. She described her as a happy child, a sweet child, a child who loved to sing, or a child who loved to dance. JonBenét had hobbies. She liked to swim. She liked to ride her bike. She liked to play outside. She loved Christmas. She loved presents. She loved Santa Claus. Her parents made Christmas special. They decorated the house. They had a big tree. They had many gifts. Patsy had a history of cancer. She had ovarian cancer. She fought it. She beat it. This was a hard time for the family. It made them appreciate life more. It made them closer. JonBenét was very young when her mom was sick, but she knew her mom was strong. She knew her mom was a fighter. The family went to church. They were religious. They believed in God. They taught their children about faith. They went to Sunday school. JonBenét learned Bible stories. She sang hymns. It was part of her upbringing. It was part of their family values. They took vacations. They went to Michigan. They went to their summer home. They went to other places. They spent time together. They made memories. These were happy times. These were family times, away from Boulder. They're away from the daily routine. Just them. JonBenét had a vivid imagination. She made up stories. She pretended a lot. She played make-believe. She loved fairy tales. She loved princesses. She loved magic. She had a child's wonder. She saw the world with open eyes. Everything was new. Everything was exciting. She was very particular about some things. She liked her hair to sew. She liked certain clothes. She had her own style. Even as a small child, she knew what she liked, and she knew what she didn't like. She was opinionated in a cute, childlike way. The Ramsey family was well off. John's business was doing well. They had money. They lived comfortably. This meant JonBenét had many things. Probably not. No one ever was there, and the kid, so they taught her to be kind, they taught her to be polite. Her grandparents visited often. Her aunts and uncles, her cousins. She had a big extended family. They loved her. They doted on her. She was a joy to them. She brought light into their lives. She was full of life, full of laughter. Her favorite color was pink. She loved anything pink. Or her room had pink things. Her clothes often had pink. She was a very girly girl. But she also had a tough side. She could keep up with her older brother. She could be feisty. She could stand her ground. She was learning to read chapter books. She was proud of it. She would read to her parents. She would read to Burke. She loved stories. She loved books. Her mind was always working, always learning, always growing. Patsy was a perfectionist. She liked things to be just right. This carried over to the pageants and to the home. She wanted the best for her children. She wanted them to succeed. She pushed them sometimes there. But she did it with love. She thought she was helping them. John was a quieter man. He was steady. He was dependable. He was a good father. He spent time with JonBenét. He read her bedtime stories. He tucked her in at night. He loved his little girl very much. She was his pride and joy. The Ramseys lived in a close-knit community. Boulder was like that. People knew each other. They supported each other. JonBenét had neighbors her age. She played with them. They rode bikes together. They built forts. They had sleepovers. It was a classic American childhood. She was very creative. She loved to sing. She loved to dance. She made up her own songs. She made up her own dances. She put on shows. For her parents, for Burke, for anyone who would watch, she was a natural performer. Well, not just on stage, but in everyday life too. Her health was good. She was a healthy child. She had energy. She ran around. She played hard. She ate her vegetables. She drank her milk. She was strong. She was active. She was full of life. The family had traditions. They celebrated holidays. They went to church on Christmas Eve. They opened presents on Christmas morning. They had big family dinners. They spent time together. These traditions were important to JonBenét. They made her feel safe. They made her feel loved. She had a favorite doll. She carried it everywhere. Its name was Barbie, like many little girls. She loved her dolls. She played house. She imagined different lives for them. She was a little mom to her dolls. Her parents taught her manners. They taught her to say please. They taught her to say thank you. They taught her to be polite to adults, to other children. She was a well-behaved child most of the time. Like any kid, she had her moments. She loved her grandparents. Patsy's parents lived nearby. They saw them often. They spoiled her. They gave her treats. They told her stories. She loved going to their house. It was a special place. Full of love, full of warmth. The Ramseys had a busy schedule. John worked. Patsy ran the house. Burke had school. JonBenét had school and pageants and playdates. There was always something to do. But they always made time for family. They ate dinner together. They talked about their day. JonBenét was learning to ride a two-wheel bike. Without training wheels, it was hard at first. She fell down. She scraped her knees. But she kept trying. She was determined. She wanted to do it. And she did. She learned to ride. She was so proud. She liked to dress up, not just for pageants, but for fun. She would put on her mom's clothes, her mom's shoes, her mom's jewelry. She would pretend to be a grown-up. She would walk around the house like a queen. She loved to play dress-up. Her relationship with Burke was typical. They had their moments of sibling rivalry. He was the big brother. He sometimes teased her. She sometimes annoyed him, but they also stuck up for each other. They had inside jokes. They shared secrets. They were a team. Patsy was very involved in the school. She volunteered. She helped with events. She knew JonBenét's teachers. She knew her friends' parents. She was a hands-on mom. She wanted to be part of her children's lives. Every part. John was also involved, but in a different way. He took the kids on adventures. He taught them things. He played with them. He was a fun dad. He liked to make them laugh. He liked to see them happy. JonBenét was a bright spark. She lit up a room. Her smile was infectious. Her laugh was contagious. She had a way of making people feel good. She had a charm about her. Even strangers noticed it. She was just that kind of kid. She loved animals, not just their dog and cat. She loved all animals. She wanted to go to the zoo. She wanted to see the elephants. She wanted to see the lions. She talked about getting a horse one day. She had big dreams. The family had a routine. They woke up. They ate breakfast. They went to school. They came home. They played. They ate dinner. They read stories. They went to bed. This routine brought comfort. It brought stability. It was the rhythm of their life. And JonBenét often wanted to help Patsy in the kitchen with chores. She wanted to be useful here. She wanted to be a big girl. She would try to wash dishes. She would try to fold clothes. She was eager to learn, eager to contribute. She had a favorite blanket. She called it her blankie. She took it everywhere. It was soft. It was comforting. It was her security. Many kids have something like that, something that makes them feel safe. The family celebrated holidays together. Christmas was big, but so was Thanksgiving and Easter. They had traditions for each. They cooked special meals. They invited family. They made it a joyous occasion. JonBenét loved these gatherings. She had a soft spot for her dad. She would climb into his lap. She would give him big hugs. She would tell him she loved him. He melted every time. She was his little girl, and he adored her. Patsy often called JonBenét Star, or Princess. She saw her as special. She saw her as a star. She nurtured that in her. She wanted JonBenét to shine. She wanted her to feel good about herself. JonBenét liked to sing for people. She liked to put on little concerts. She wasn't shy about it. She loved to entertain. She loved to make people smile. She had a natural stage presence, even without the pageant context. The family lived a very private life. Before everything changed, they were just a family. Living in a nice house, in a nice town. They went about their days like everyone else. They had hopes. They had dreams. They had plans. She was learning about the world, about science, about nature. She asked questions about everything. Why is the sky blue? How do birds fly? Her mind was open, ready to absorb, ready to understand. She had a favorite teddy bear. It sat on her bed. She talked to it. She told it secrets. It was her confidante, her silent friend. It was always there, listening, watching. Patsy and John sometimes argued, like any married couple, but they loved each other. They loved their children. Their home was not perfect. No home is. But it was full of love, full of life. JonBenét learned to tie her shoes. It was a big deal, a milestone. She practiced and practiced until she got it right. She was persistent. She was determined. She didn't give up easily. She loved her brother, even though they bickered. She looked up to him. He was bigger. He was older. He knew more things. She wanted to be like him in some ways. She wanted to play his games. The family had a summer home in Michigan. They spent time there. It was a place for relaxation, for fun, for swimming, for boating, for just being a family, away from everything. JonBenét was a very tactile child. She liked to touch things, to feel things, to explore with her hands. She liked soft fabrics. She liked different textures. She was curious about the world. She had a good sense of humor. She laughed easily. She told jokes. She thought some things were very funny. She had a playful spirit. She loved to make others laugh too. Patsy put a lot of energy into her children, into their upbringing, into their activities. She was a dedicated mom. She devoted her life to them. She wanted them to have everything. John provided the stability. He worked hard. He was the anchor. He made sure they had a good life. He supported Patsy. He supported his children. He was a solid presence. JonBenét was excited for Christmas. The day she died was the day after Christmas. The house was still decorated. The presents were still out. She had just celebrated. She had just been joyful. She had a favorite color pencil set. She would spend hours drawing pictures of flowers, pictures of animals, pictures of her family. She put her heart into her art. She was proud of her creations. The family sometimes had movie nights. They would watch movies together, with popcorn, with blankets. It was a cozy time, a bonding time. Simple pleasures, made special by being together. JonBenét loved going to the park. She loved the swings. She loved the slide. She loved to run around. She loved to climb. She loved being outside, feeling the sun, feeling the wind. Her parents taught her to be kind, to be compassionate, to think of others. She would share her toys. She would share her snacks. She tried to be a good friend, to everyone. Patsy was a strong woman. She had battled cancer. She had raised 2 children. She had supported her husband. She had a lot of energy, a lot of drive. She poured it all into her family. John was a calm presence. He was steady. He was reliable. He was a good listener. He was the kind of dad who would always be there for anything, for everything. JonBenét was learning to write her name. She wrote it in big letters on her drawings, on her papers. She was proud of her name. It was her identity. It was who she was. She was very particular about her food. She liked certain things. She didn't like others. Like most kids, she had her favorite meals and her least favorite. She would sometimes pick at her plate. The family valued education. They talked about college, even when the kids were young. They wanted them to learn, to grow, to have opportunities, to make their mark in the world. JonBenét loved to play hide and seek with Burke, with her friends. She loved the thrill of it. The suspense, the surprise. She would hide in the cleverest places. She was good at it. She had a special bond with her mom. They spent a lot of time together. Patsy was her role model, her guide, her best friend. They shared a lot. They understood each other. John would sometimes take JonBenét to his office on a Saturday, or a day off. She would sit at his desk. She would play with his pens. She would pretend to work. She liked being with her dad. JonBenét had a vivid imagination. She made up stories in her head. She lived in a world of wonder. She saw magic in everyday things. She believed in fairy tales. She believed in dreams. She was a normal kid. She was sweet. She was playful. She was smart. She was loved. She had a full life, a rich life, before it was cut short. Before it became a mystery, she was just JonBenét. As a child, a real person, beyond the famous image, beyond the sad story. She was a little girl. And she lived.